Welcome, everyone. My name is Mike Chaffee. I'm going to be the presenter today of our 2025 Tire Industry Employment Trends Report. And this is also being recorded. I can also field any questions that you may have. You could contact me directly on LinkedIn or via email, mike@tiretalent.com. Everything that you see today comes directly from a primary source like the Bureau of Labor Statistics or a survey that we have run. And let's jump into it. So again, my name is Mike Chaffee. I'm the founder of Tire Talent. We're celebrating our 10th year supporting this great industry, and I want to share with you powerful insights our team has collected over the past couple months that we feel are going to impact 2025 and beyond. Over the past decade, I've seen firsthand what separates companies that retain their top talent and from those that lose it. In fact, I've worked with over 100 companies in our tire industry alone, all tiers, segments, and channels of distribution from C-level to entry level. And today I'm sharing powerful insights on employment trends, what the data tells us about the road ahead, and strategies that you can use to attract and retain top performers in 2025 and beyond. So let's turn talent attraction and retention from one of your biggest challenges into one of your greatest advantages. So let's kick it off at 30,000 feet and where we are today. The slide that I'm showing you shows that we're currently at 340 million in terms of a population within the United States. All the data I'm about to show you comes directly from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and we put it in a visual format so you could understand what's going on. So let's start our journey here. And let's first talk about the labor force or the workforce. The labor force or the workforce, you may have heard on whatever your favorite news outlet is a simple calculation of the employed plus the unemployed. That equals our labor force. And it's important to know this as we jump into our next slide. We currently sit at 170.7 million individuals that are in the workforce. This means they're counted by the BLS as employed or unemployed. Now, it's important to note that this is about a 5-year look back. You could see pre-COVID, we actually have more individuals in the workforce today than pre-COVID, and even better news, more folks in the workforce, in fact, a 2% increase year over year. The next slide, however, is the participation rate. So this is a percentage based on the population. And the takeaway here is, again, same time frame, but what you'll notice is prior to COVID, we had a higher participation rate. So we were just above 63 point, let's say 3%, where today, 63.1%, where today we're at a 62.1%. So that means based on our population, we should have more individuals that are working in the workforce. And if we do a 20-year look back, we could actually see that the United States has been in decline in terms of labor force participation rate for over 20 years. So what we did was we said, let's take the same labor force participation rate that we had in 2020 and multiply it by the amount of folks today, and we would actually have 1.2 million more individuals in the workforce if we had the same participation rate as February 2020. So you might be asking yourself, well, where did these individuals go? And if we look at it from an age perspective, the only growth was in the prime age workforce of 25 to 54. The largest decrease has been in 65 and older with a 6.6%. So that means that folks are retiring at a faster rate than normal. We also see a drop in the labor force, surprisingly, of 20 to 24-year-olds since 2020. 55% of peak boomers will retire in the next 5 years. So that's 15 million folks plan on retiring in the next 5 years. But what we really know is it actually happens a lot sooner than that due to illness, loss of jobs, or they just don't want to finish out the 5 years. These are some of the most knowledgeable people within our industry and any other industry that are going to retire, that we're going to lose in terms of the great minds that are within our industries. Health issues are also another reason why folks have left the labor force. So right now we're looking at a slide that shows prime age men, 25 years old to 54 years old. And what we see here is the blue is showing us unemployed and no longer in the workforce. So that number, the numbers I showed you before, they're no longer in the workforce, and 57% of them can't enter back into the workforce according to this survey because of physical or mental health reasons. Now, those that are still counted in the labor force are an unemployed. 48% of them are saying that they're having difficulty finding work. But then we probably all have heard of this stat that we have 7.6 million job openings as of January 2025, and we have 6.8 million folks that are in the labor force that are currently unemployed. So, why is there such a mismatch? Overall, I think that we're still in a pretty tight labor market. We're at 4.0% unemployment. And yes, we were at a much tighter employment post COVID. Even last year, we were only at a 3.7% unemployment rate. The time that I'm recording this, new numbers will come out tomorrow. But at the end of the day, we're still at what we call a tight labor market based upon the way that the BLS counts the data. Now, a lot of individuals say that in my circle say that the numbers are fixed. So there's different ways that the BLS calculates U3, U6. It really doesn't matter how you calculate it. Based on the different calculations, we're overall in a healthy labor market, and there aren't really many underemployed workers based on these calculations. I found this slide on the US Chamber of Commerce, and basically the takeaway here is the yellow line, the two gray bars are the recessions past 20 years. And what you'll see is the yellow line is actually the job openings, and you'll see that it is merging back much closer to the orange line, which is the unemployment. So we're moving into a much more labor friendly market in terms of employers being able to fill those open jobs. But yet we still have so many. According to TransUnion, they reported that more than half, or 60% of US adults, earn money from a gig platform. And from my research and my understanding, the BLS doesn't count 1099 contractors as employees in the way that we're counting them in the previous slides before. They're considered their own business owners. So when we think of the previous slide, we think of Grubhub and the different delivery services, Uber, etc. Now we're going to jump into some very tire specific industry trends. So surprisingly, women within all of automotive retail, so that's auto parts, accessories, and tire stores, declined over 2024 year over year by over 4%. However, total female retail employment was only down 0.2%, and total unemployment for men in the automotive retail segment was only down 0.10%. So we don't know exactly where the women went, but if we look in the next slide, we'll see that there was an increase, peaked in January 2024, and then a decrease of women within the retail segment. Looking at the 5-year employment trend in tire manufacturing, I don't think this should be a surprise with all the plant closures, with a 5.5% decrease in overall total employees that are counted in the BLS from a tire manufacturing perspective. We created this slide to show again, this deck will be available after this live stream. We basically created this slide to show the different potential tire tech competitive jobs in the marketplace. So when we think about the engine of our industry, whether it's a tire tech or it's a person working on the floor within a manufacturing plant. We can't think of competition being within other tire industry stores that are battling for the um, employees or the manufacturer folks on the floor. We need to think of it in a sense of within your geolocation, what are the other jobs that are available that are potentially easier to make an income or potentially have larger benefits to make an income. So tire techs, we still hear across the board. Manufacturer, labor force, same thing in terms of being the engine within our industry. However, a lot of companies still struggling to maintain a proper workforce, but things are much better than years ago since COVID. So to address the shortage, specifically around tire techs, uh, we've seen this work for many of our clients and across the industry with expanding your vocational training, community and local outreach, partnering and creating actual apprenticeships with local schools, BOCES, etc. Investing within your team with stronger certifications and transparency around career growth, et cetera, within your own company. So you may have seen an article that I've written within Tire Business about the Trump administration. And as I'm recording this, it really changes day by day, as we all know. And it's not really about where your politics beliefs sit. It's just really more about the different headwinds that we're facing within the automotive and tires around tariffs and the unknowns. We're hearing it across the industry in terms of the unknowns and it impacting the ability for companies to make investments because they don't know 100% where all the legislation is going to lie and all the different impacts. So we're keeping abreast of this situation. You could see the article that I wrote on tire business, and we're going to do an update on it shortly to go further in depth on what's going on. We're also seeing mass layoffs, obviously in the federal sector with Elon Musk and Doge, and how it is truly potentially bringing impact to the overall labor market. And perhaps these skilled individuals will then come into the private sector as they are doing mass layoffs in the federal workforce. So another slide that I want to show is really around our CPI, and at the end of the day, it we need to look at CPI from the employee cost of living. So what does it cost for your individuals on your team to actually live day by day? And we know that there's a lot of pressures and there's increased pressures. If these tariffs stick at the end of the day, it's potentially inflationary from a CPI standpoint, right? So we bring in manufacturing in the United States. Manufacturing costs more to do in the United States, so goods are probably going to cost more. We put on tariffs. At the end of the day, these are inflationary and cause CPI to go up. Now, Trump has told us that it's only going to be temporary. However, as we're recording this in March 6th of 2025, time will tell. And I put up a post on my LinkedIn and I basically asked the question, where are you feeling the pain most? So number one, again, obviously small sample size because I'm not, it's not thousands of people that respond to the survey, but food and groceries were number one, followed by housing and rent. I know that in my local area, if you want to buy organic eggs, you're about up to a dollar, almost $1 an egg, basically. So the Fed has a target of 2 to 3% annual, and it almost just seems unrealistic at this point based on their calculations and how they calculate it. The price of gold has gone up about $900 per ounce over the past 12 months. That's 45% increase. Gold shouldn't be going up that much, and It's due to a lot of reasons, including geopolitical landscape, but overall, as we've in essence debased our currency over the past 5 years, assets now still have to catch up, such as gold. So hopefully inflation slows down, but we really see a steep curve. And again, at the end of the day, it's a takeaway for our employees. In terms of retaining our employees, we have to understand that the cost of living has gone up. So if they really feel these pressures, they might be looking externally if they're not making certain incomes within our own companies. Hope that makes sense on why we're actually showing this slide. Return to office is sticky depending on the segment that you operate in. So obviously within our industry, a lot of the larger companies anecdotally have struggled um, to get employees back into the workforce, back into their office full time. So a lot of them still remain hybrid. However, a lot of companies are back 100% full time. In New York, Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan, I'm sure many of you have saw, just bashed the concept of his employees pushing back and basically told everyone to get a new job. Finance is an old industry, right? It's not like a tech startup, almost like tires in a sense, or industrial where it's more traditional. And it's just a figurehead that we see really pushing back. So I think we're at this state where a lot of folks still don't want to go back full time, but as that unemployment rate ticks up, and the pressure goes more on the basically the employees not holding all the cards, companies are going to be able to basically do as they wish. Trump, same thing, doesn't believe in work from home, also pushing back for the federal government employees to come back into the office. So I think that we're in a state of the market where candidates, still think that they hold all the cards in a lot of cases from what we see and deals that we're putting together. Again, this is more anecdotal, but employers also think that um, unemployment is very high and they really call all the shots, but really it's somewhere in the middle. Last year, our firm, for example, lost 17 deals at the offer stage because one side wouldn't negotiate to the finish line with the other side from a candidate, um, not accepting wanting an extra 5-10K salary at the end as a surprise just because they thought they could. Employer kind of stuck their ground and basically um, losing the deal in the sense of moving forward. So I think we're in this odd area where both sides feel like they are in the stronger card, have the stronger card to play. But in reality, it's a bit of both. And as we see, a lot of the skilled folks in our industry are hitting that retirement age and are leaving the workforce. So our workforce has shrunk. So it's still a competitive landscape, as I think it always would be for what we call A players. I want to now shift more towards the um, generational shift that we're seeing in the marketplace. So Gen Z and millennials is really the focus, but let's really focus on Gen Z. So really, Gen Z is almost 1 in 5 in every worker. So we have to truly understand these individuals and is as they grow share within the workforce, it's our job to understand them if we want to attract and retain talent on a team, right? So as we sit today, we're talking about 14 to 28-year-olds. So just a bit about Gen Z. They're the least motivated by money. In fact, according to a McKinsey study, they were the only group not to rank it as their top 2 reasons for leaving a company. They rank flexibility as the highest way to retain them, and career development and growth is a top reason while they'll leave you in terms of a job. So those are the 3 key takeaways. Least motivated by money by any other pool. They give flexibility the highest way to retain them. And in terms of career development and growth, if they don't feel like we're investing in them, it's their number one reason of why they leave. They're also the most impacted when it comes to their performance based on all the factors that we're listing here, according to this McKinsey study. That's hostile work environment, mental health issues. They're the blue dot on the right, and everyone else, all other generations, are on the left. So they're the most impact by basically the work environment. Um, and this leads to poor retention if we're not hitting the mark. So I want to tell you about a case study from Alan at Premier Financial. Alan is a uh, top recruiter for the CPA world. He is also a part of Pinnacle. Pinnacle Society is 80 top recruiters across the United States in different verticals that we now have the honor of being a part of. And this was a presentation that he gave, and I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version because I think for Gen Z, it's very important to understand. He had 22 offers declined in 2023, and 17 of them were from Gen Z. This means that people went all the way to offer and then declined at the end for whatever reason. Alan would get some sort of email Friday before they were starting saying that they're making the most hardest decision that they had ever had to make for themselves and their family, and basically he gave us permission to show these slides. So Alan had enough in 2024. His two boys are Gen Z, so he took a poll of his two boys and his friends, and his biggest takeaways is that Gen Z can be quite risk averse. As he learned, many were afraid to leave their current job due to COVID, right? So they spend a year and a half or 2 years in their rooms finishing out college. They saw their parents getting fired. This is also a generation that refuses to have difficult conversations. They really don't like confrontation. They prefer electronic communication and have very short attention spans, right? So what did Alan do to remedy this so that his offers at the end weren't blowing up? He came up what he called the candidate promise, and we adopted it at Tire Talent, and you can be free to adopt it within your practice. This is called the candidate commitment, and it's basically, let's not have this blow up at the end. Let's have an open dialogue and communication throughout the entire process so we could save you and I a lot of heartache, um, because communication is key and we want to communicate up front. So basically what we do is, or what Alan did and that we've adopted, is every single candidate we speak to now has an email that's sent to them that's called a candidate commitment. And basically it's what we do for you: professional representation, accurate, timely information, negotiation, and offer support, ongoing support, and coaching. And the most important part for you as the employer is, this is what we expect from you. We expect you to keep everything confidential. You have a commitment to the opportunities, provide timely information and updates, interview availability, timely feedback, and decision preparedness, right? So all along the way, we can check in and make sure that you want to go to next steps and you're open for it. At any point in time, basically, you raise your hand and you basically say, Mike, this opportunity is no longer for me, no hard feelings. And we don't just drag it out to the end and then you abort mission. So basically, I emailed Alan on February 15th and I said, hi, Alan, how many did you end up having in terms of turndowns for 2024? And his answer was 0. So obviously I'm giving you an abbreviated version and cliff notes of what Alan's done within his team to help mitigate turndowns from Gen Z. But the whole point is to have clear communications up front and all along the way, and giving them the out if the position is no longer for them. So if you're a hiring manager struggling with Gen Z and at that offer stage, feel free to email me and I will send you the candidate commitment that you could use within your own company. I'm going to review now our tire industry employee survey results for 2025. So basically the purpose of this survey that we run every single year is to understand what employees prioritize in their workplace and go over overall the industry trends. And it's used as a data point for you to build out comp plans and see how you can retain talent. So there was 25 total questions in the survey. The full survey is available for you to download off of our website. We had 340 individuals that were basically from C-level to entry level within the tire industry. Most were middle management. Um, and basically, this is just a big picture in terms of the demographics, really well spread out, etc. Again, this is available for you to download. But just a big takeaway in terms of employee retention and satisfaction. So we said in one word, why do you choose to stay with your company? And the three top words that were written were security, loyalty, and stability. So if you can demonstrate that for your team, this is what they're looking for and why they stay with their current company: security, loyalty, and stability. Um, Another question that we asked is, does your job have well-defined, concise, and clear goals and objectives? And the response landed at almost like a 6.5 out of 10. And basically, job clarity is one of the major reasons why individuals will leave. So simply, you should have 3 to 5 concise KPIs that are measurable for every single job description or every single person on your team, because uncertainty about KPIs and job clarity is a total retention risk. So I think we could do better as an industry to improve that for 2025. So another 2 questions that we asked were, can you grow within your company? Do you feel that you can grow within your current company? Do you feel that your leadership listens to you? And 3.1 out of 5. So we know also Gen Z and millennials like to feel like their voices are actually being heard. So transparent communication and frequent feedback and development are really important for retention within your company. Do you feel that your salary is keeping up with inflation, and are you currently satisfied with your base salary base? Obviously, it could be considered like a loaded question, right? But because is anyone really at the end of the day truly satisfied with their base? Everyone always probably wants more, right? Or the majority. But when we think about inflation and just how expensive it's become to live within the United States specifically, um, it's important that we're addressing and we're making sure that our salaries are keeping up with the inflationary aspect if we want to retain our talent. And I think it could be a great selling point for you and show for your companies, and showing that you're doing the best for your team, and sharing with some of the record years that we've had. Obviously, 2025, it looks like we're facing some headwinds, but that's another conversation. 55% also said they would consider a new job. So, in terms of retaining, just the key takeaways: clear job expectations, career growth, and competitive compensation are really the key takeaways for attracting and retaining top talent. All the questions will be available on our website for download that we asked, and this presentation as well. Also happy to dig into any numbers a bit deeper if you want. Okay, moving along. AI tools in recruitment. Um, so this is the hot topic for, I think, 2025. If you're a recruiter or HR or anyone, even in sales, AI's impacting us at the end of the day, right? I think, um, if I was able to ask everyone watching this to raise your hand if you use ChatGPT, Gemini, or another AI tool, I'm sure that at this point the majority would raise their hand. But what if I told you that a company used AI from job posting all the way to contingent offer and hired 20,000 employees last year without one human's interaction? Would you believe me? Well, FedEx hired 20,000 people without one human. So this is the type of disruption that's coming for talent acquisition, for people like me, or my title, or so they say. But as recruiters and talent acquisition, we must not fear, we must embrace this change. So if you're a candidate looking for a job, this man had 1,000 applicants overnight, and he applied 1,000 jobs overnight and got 50 interviews. So how can everyone that's watching this use AI to attract and retain talent? So you could write better job descriptions with Google Gemini. You could create great employment brand content on Chat GBT. You could even come up with questions for your interviews. And I think a great one, if your team has unprofessional headshots, you can use free tools or paid tools. So an example of a tool that I used, I just loaded these 4 pictures, and look at this beautiful picture of my new headshot now that I'm able to use. Just kidding. Um, I was quoted something like $400 to get a headshot near me where I live. This also meant that I had to drive to this individual's house, put on a suit, um, spend $400 and burn probably 2 to 4 hours of my time. Instead, I paid $50, loaded those 4 pictures, and I got these 2 beautiful AI pictures spit out. And I used the one on my left as my LinkedIn. So these are some of the ways that AI is disrupting some spaces and helping us out. So, I think like a level like 1.0 ChatGPT type tool we should all be using on the left. It's amazing because now someone could fix my emails. I'm not the best at writing emails. It could help us write job descriptions. The middle tool that I'm showing here is called Plod.ai. So this is something that your sales reps could use or your teams could use within meetings. It's an actual device. It can summarize in the format that you want and then enter the team note meetings or call recordings into your CRM. And then another AI tool that's really disrupting is Clay.com in terms of sales and web scraping. You could really think of it as a very advanced web scraper that brings automation. A lot of it is very noisy right now, but they just received a $1.2 billion evaluation. So these are the major AI tools that we're seeing impacting recruiting that you could potentially use on your team. SendSpark is another cool tool for recruiting. Basically, I could record one video and it will replace, I could record a video um, and I could say, "Hi, Joe. Just scrolling through your LinkedIn and see that you have a great background for a potential position." And what this tool SendSpark will do, it'll replace the first name with the database that I load of all the names within it, and then it'll also replace the background of the video with that person's LinkedIn profile. So I could record one video, and now I can um, load a database of, let's say, 300 people, and they will get a customized video where it's my voice saying their name because the AI tool SendSpark is using my voice to replicate their name. And then also it goes on their LinkedIn profile, let's say, and scrolls down it. So I could record one video and it's personalized for each and every individual person. So it made me come to realize that we really need to be the signal amongst the noise. As employer brands, your job opening posted on LinkedIn or Indeed is just, honestly, it's in a sea of noise. So what are you doing to make sure that you're signaling to the right audience? Um, so I ask you the question, like your iPhone runs on iOS and like your Google phone runs on Android, what does your hiring system run on? With all these cool tools now, my inbox is more flooded than ever. Um, and one thing that we've noticed as we celebrate our 10th year since starting Tire Talent is basically that we see a lot of companies really struggling with the baseline of recruitment from the standpoint of the different phases of recruitment. And those are target setting, road mapping, recruiting, decision making, and post hire. I think that we have access to all these cool tools, but we forget sometimes about the baseline frameworks that every company needs to hire. So when I think about hiring and different pools of candidates, I want us to think about A players. So the movers and shakers, right? So there's 2 types of candidates in my mind. There's what we call passive candidates and active candidates. Passive candidates are in a job working today. They're never clicking on your job ad. Active candidates, they're clicking on your job ad. So how do we attract the first type, the passive type? employee referrals. Employees within your team could refer you to top performers of vendors or other customers or companies of top performers, and you as leaders should be having conversations with these individuals every month and always be thinking about your bench, and when the next person leaves, who's a potential person to fill it. Also, from a passive candidate standpoint, these are typically in our mind where the A players live. So the A players typically are busy working in a role today, not clicking on job ads. You should also have what we call an outbound strategy. That means we're actually doing active outreach to these individuals. And Microsoft did a study years ago. It takes 11 times to get someone's attention. An active candidate, I think that most of the industry understands how to post up jobs on LinkedIn and Indeed, but this is what we mean by active. They are clicking on job ads. So really making sure that you have a great employer brand and amazing job openings are going to convert more to the active. And you want to make sure that you have a strategy for both. As I'm wrapping up this presentation, I want to quickly mention a tool that we're launching 100% for free for the industry to use. And what this is it's an AI app that's going to walk you through every single process or the five major phases of the recruitment process. So number one, starting with target setting. What is your ideal candidate profile? What are the 3 to 5 KPIs that this person needs to be successful, that this person needs to hit within a year's time to be successful within your organization? Because as we saw in the survey, a lot of individuals don't have clarity within their job. So understanding the ideal candidate profile, who we're hiring, and what should they be able to do within a year, this is step one. And I can't tell you, it's probably way less than 50%. It's probably more like 20% when I ask a hiring manager when we onboard a role. What are the 3 to 5 KPIs that this individual has to hit for a year from now for you to say, Mike, they were successful or they weren't? So if you're not able to do that, this app helps you do it. Road mapping. So now that you have a crystal clear picture of what your ideal candidate is, like what their background, experience, education is, like we need a strategy to find them. So where do these people live and how are we actually going to go to market and get them? Remember, a 5-star candidate experience is essential for attracting these A players. Recruiting. So now the search is on, right? You have to go to market and actually execute on what we roadmap. This is the whole phase of recruitment. And this is where we're looking for the folks that are the 90% or better of what we originally set out in our target. And hopefully by this time you've identified 3 to 5 finalists that you're ready to move to the next stage, which is decision making. So what are the questions that you're asking throughout your interview process to make sure that we're properly vetting and giving a great experience to these candidates, and that individuals are on your team are asking the right questions, and we're using a non-biased way of basically saying, hey, this is the person at the end of the day that we want to hire. And I'm running through this quickly because I know I'm running short on time. Um, from a post hire success, right? So when the person signs the offer letter, the job isn't complete. They need to show up and they need to be successful from day 1 through 365. And we have tools that we provide that are playbooks or blueprints. If you don't have them on how you can make new employees successful on their first day and beyond. This is a app that's in beta. It's going to be 100% for free. We're launching it within the next 60 days. I just wanted to provide this as a quick teaser. And I wanted to end on this. So to the leadership and those that are listening in this room, what is your mission and vision? And is it big enough for your team to be inspired to be retained? And does it also attract talent? So I'm giving you my personal mission and vision is to impact 10,000 lives over the next decade. So this mission is big enough for my team to understand what their mission every day is, what their purpose is. So everyone on our team has that 3 to 5 KPIs. So I ask you, what is your mission and vision? And make sure it's big enough for your entire team to wrap themselves under. And if you're someone on, if you're an individual contributor on a team and you don't know what your company's mission vision is, help the leadership identify this and the need to do it. So I wish you all an amazing 2025, and I hope you've gained value from either the employment updates, the hiring trends, or this potential app that we're releasing 100% for free to the marketplace. Again, my name is Mike Chaffee. This is my direct email. The presentation, any questions you have, anything that I could help you with from a candidate or employer standpoint, 904-289-8379 is my direct work line. My direct email is mike@tiretalent.com. I thank you all for joining me on today's presentation. Looking forward to seeing everyone's success in 2025, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you again. Thanks for joining.